We all know just how excited people were to see Avatar make a comeback with Avatar 2 after all this time. Who would have thought the day would ever actually come? Not us, that's for sure. Another thing we all know though is that you shouldn't be betting against James Cameron, but apparently you shouldn't ever bet against Zoe Saldana either. Let's dive right in and see what bet the two made and how Zoe won. First of all, we have the bets between James Cameron and Zoe Saldana. You often hear in Hollywood how you should never bet against James Cameron, a saying that's been brought back to life now that Avatar 2 is out. But maybe Cameron leaned a new saying this time to never bet against Zoe Saldana. The filmmaker put the cast for Avatar 2 through some tough times and pushed them on set during shooting. First of all, there are the underwater scenes where actress Kate Winslet ended up breaking records for how long she could hold her breath while underwater. Then there were all the physically taxing stunts like swinging through treetops, shooting arrows, or riding on top of a bunch of different aliens. You could say Zoe Saldana is a pro at all of this by now, having been a part of the first Avatar movie all the way back in 2009. The same year, she took on the role of Uhura from Star Trek, and has since been starring as the green alien Gamora from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She even has a small part to play in the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. With all of that experience, James Cameron should have known not to bet against Zoe Saldana and her abilities with a bow and arrow on set. Saldana says she's proud to have won her bets against the filmmaker. Cameron would tell her to hit a target on set with her bow and arrow, which she would even if she felt like he couldn't. Apparently, James Cameron lost a lot of money in his bets against the actress. The money involved also kept getting lesser with each new bet. Up next, we have actress Kate Winslet breaks world records on set for Avatar 2. Can we just say how fantastic the underwater scenes in Avatar 2 are? Kate Winslet's presence and her world record-breaking performance made them even better. In a talk with USA Today, Winslet told them that she had to go through training and learn freediving for the movie, which helped her stay underwater for 7 minutes and 14 seconds. We didn't even think that was possible, not gonna lie. The previous owner for this record was none other than Tom Cruise, who on the set of Mission Impossible Rogue Nation stayed underwater for 6 whole minutes, which is still a very impressive thing to do. But Kate Winslet smashed that record by outlasting Mission Impossible star by 1 minute and 14 seconds. Kate talked about how she doesn't know Tom Cruise at all, but she was sure he'd be tired of hearing all the continuous stories about her breaking his record 7 years later. She also added that she was amazed with herself, as she should be though. We could never imagine holding our breath underwater for that long. In the same talk, Sigourney Weaver even said that she and theater director Jim Simpson, her husband, both held their breath underwater for 6 minutes and 30 seconds. They were taught by Navy SEALs teacher Kurt Crack, who said everyone had a new personal best. Tom Cruise must be in shambles right now. Let's talk a little about fonts and sketches now. We're sure you know what this is about. Next up, why James Cameron used papyrus for Avatar 1 and Ryan Gosling's sketch. Avatar 2 has finally hit theaters, but in those 13 years between the first movie and the sequel, one joke has always been a constant, and it's that James Cameron actually decided to go with a font as generic as papyrus for the logo, a font that comes with the standard Microsoft Word. Ryan Gosling was even in a Saturday Night Live sketch about it. Cameron actually addressed the joke and shared what he thought about the font and the SNL sketch starring Ryan Gosling in a talk with BBC Radio 1. The filmmaker said that the sketch actually haunts him while acknowledging that it was pretty funny. He did, however, say that he's amazed at why and how they could put in that much money for something so minimal. When recalling the SNL sketch and how Cameron says they're using papyrus for everything, the filmmaker added that it's even funnier since he never knew it was papyrus in the first place. He thought it was just a cool font that the art department for the first Avatar movie came up with. In a talk with Empire later, Cameron even talked about how obsessed Ryan Gosling is over the choice of font. He talked about how Gosling needs to get out more and move out of his mother's basement instead of obsessing over papyrus. Maybe Ryan Gosling does need to go out and touch the grass. Cameron added that if papyrus fits in well with the problems in indigenous cultures, then he isn't going to lose sleep over it. The movie did also break a lot of records, to be fair. Let's talk about them. Coming up next, box office records broken by the first Avatar movie. Released all the way back in 2009, the first Avatar movie did so well that it ended up breaking and setting numerous box office records all over the world. Avatar Avatar was a groundbreaking movie back in the day. It generated so much revenue from theaters, television broadcasting, home videos, and merchandise that it became the highest-grossing movie ever. And it's no surprise that the highest-grossing movie of all time also became the movie to gross between $1 billion and $2.5 billion faster than any other movie out there. The first Avatar movie also set records by becoming the highest-grossing 3D movie and IMAX format movie. When it comes to domestic records, the United States of America and Canada, Avatar unsurprisingly set records for the highest-grossing film, and for the movie to generate between $500 million to $750 million the fastest. So that's a lot of broken records if you ask us, even though we've only mentioned a handful of them. There have been many more records set by the first Avatar movie. It does make sense though, and analysts at Box Office highlighted several factors that helped Avatar become as big as it did. Let's talk about some of the factors these box office analysts have identified. Up next, why the original Avatar movie did so well. Other than being one of the most groundbreaking films to ever have been made in the history of television, film, and theater, there's a bunch of other variables that have added up to the movie's massive success and fame. And box office analysts have pointed out some of those variables. First of all, the analysts talk about how there was a notable lack of competition back then, considering the time the movie was released. Though we think the film was just way far ahead of its time too, and even if there was more competition, we don't think it would have made much of a difference in the success of the first Avatar movie. Other than that, the box office analysts also talk about the great marketing campaign for the movie and how it put emphasis on how a more cinematic experience would be better to watch the movie, which, let's be honest, it was. However, this ended up convincing many more people to buy tickets and watch the groundbreaking film in theaters rather than at home. And then, obviously, people only had good things to say about it. Considering how ahead of its time the movie was back then, which made even more people want to buy tickets and watch the film in cinemas, creating a vicious cycle of buying tickets and then telling people how amazing the movie was, a lot of people even watched the movie in cinemas multiple times. Speaking of the first Avatar film, though, let's talk a little about Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldana meeting for the first time during auditions for the 2009 hit movie. Coming up, Avatar starts first encounter. It's obvious that Sam and Zoe, the stars playing Jake Sully and Neytiri, have a strong connection in Avatar: The Way of Water, which shows an interterrestrial couple on big screens. But the real-life dynamics between the two are very different. In a talk with People, Worthington talked about how Zoe is more like a sister to him and how it's a little weird to be playing her lover in the second Avatar film. The two did talk about how their friendship started off like a date, where Sam joked about sweeping his soon-to-be co-star off her feet while auditioning for the first Avatar film in a hotel bar in 2009. He added that he asked director Cameron if he could meet the person he wants Neytiri to be played by, saying it would help him with his role, and that's how the two met for the first time. The Australian actor also said that he charmed Zoe Saldana at the hotel bar, but later found out that she had no clue what he was saying. Apparently, she had a hard time understanding his accent. Though Zoe's recollection of it is a little different, and she says she was the one who charmed him as she's the more talkative one, she did acknowledge that she couldn't understand him. Regardless of that, the two enjoy working with each other a lot. Lastly, Sam and Zoe on working with each other. Both stars aren't shy about acknowledging how talented the other is. Even though motion capture technology is a big part of Avatar, Sam says Zoe's acting is what makes it great. He talks about how every tear she sheds in a real tear and how it comes through on the technology. He added that he had a front row seat for it. Luckily, he said, he gets the chance to see Zoe and her different takes on a scene and how he loves that process. Zoe shared similar thoughts on Sam, talking about how he brings a sense of fragility and strength to his character. The two stars talked about how it's been a wonderful journey working with and seeing each other put on amazing performances under the eyes of director James Cameron. They really are like siblings. That's a wrap for this video. Who was your favorite actor from the film? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.